Hello there, my name is Penny, and if you want to hear a story about cynical, dirty heartbreakers, be my guest. I'm a huge expert in this field because I am one of them. Since high school, boys have always liked me wherever I went. As for me, I never fell in love with anyone. The only sensation I had was that strange sensation when I trampled someone's feelings. It usually worked the following way. Step 1. I meet a new guy. He likes me and I give him false hope. Step 2. The guy takes steps to become my boyfriend or lover, and I extract everything he is able to provide in terms of gifts and emotions. Step 3. He falls in love, and I ghost him in the meanest possible manner. I could sleep peacefully only when someone out there was suffering because of me. Psychologists would probably explain this by citing my childhood trauma. My dad used to be a chronic gambler. We lived in Vegas. I don't remember my mum. She abandoned me and my dad before I even learned to walk. When I was 5, Dad lost all his property in a poker game, left me alone in our home, the one that he lost, and escaped. I've never heard anything from him since that day. I had to spend 2 days alone before the neighbours and social workers rescued me. I was sent to live with my grandmother in the most boring place on the planet. She was very violent and forbade me to do everything. She told me awful things about my mum and constantly repeated that I was just like her. No wonder I ran away from that old witch. At the age of 18, I decided to become a flight attendant. But I didn't have enough money to pay for my education, so I collected $4,000 from the most faithful prisoners in my friend zone: Josh, Mike, Terry, and the guy in a yellow t-shirt. I can't remember his name. So, anyways, I moved to another state, and in 6 months transformed into a brand new, hot flight attendant. I was hired by a local airline, and my new career brought my love games to a new level. I've never seen so many attractive rich men in one place before. I received tons of invitations from passengers to hang out after landing, and sometimes if I saw that the guy was wealthy and naive, I accepted them. After a while, I developed relationships with several men in different areas. Dan from Colorado took me to his ranch and taught me to ride horses. Tim from New York took me to the best restaurants and brought me luxury outfits. Rick from California sailed with me on his yacht. Stan from Maryland gave me a limitless gift card from his spa chain. My job was the perfect alibi. Every guy was convinced that he was the one for me, and they waited patiently for our next meeting, like idiots. Most of those guys didn't even get the chance to kiss me. I lied about my strict Catholic education, which made them try even harder to win my trust. If someone bothered me, I said goodbye and replaced them. I worked in business class, so I had no problem with searching for a new sugar daddy. Is there anything more entertaining than the humiliation of an arrogant male? I don't think so. 3 years later, I decided to spend my annual 28-day vacation at home, because I was exhausted and depressed. My wardrobe was full of expensive brands. I had tried all the delicious meals, travelled to every destination around the country, improved every part of my body. But still, something was missing. And I didn't leave the apartment for weeks. One night, my best and only friend, Karen, came over to my place and saw my gloomy mood. Her advice was to stop wasting energy and find one good man. We studied a list of my fake boyfriends, and I realized that not one of them was the perfect fit. So I got rid of them all, and a new chapter of my life began. When my vacation was up, Karen and I launched our secret mission: find the groom. We analysed every man on each flight to be my potential husband, and we had a lot of fun. One day, she told me to pay attention to an elegant passenger in his 50s sitting by a window. As I poured him a drink, I learned that his name was Harry. Harry was wearing a very expensive old-school watch and really pleasant perfume. No ring, no photos of kids on his wallpaper. Before dinner service, I made a bet with Karen. If Harry picks the fish, he's my future husband. Poor Harry picked the fish. I turned on all my charm and told him that I liked fish too, which wasn't true, but it worked. He asked me out to dinner at the best seafood restaurant. During our dinner, Harry shared the details of his life. He was divorced and his daughter was almost my age. He ran a prosperous development business and was dreaming to meet his soulmate, so all I had to do was pretend to be his soulmate. From his social media, I had learned that he was into all that spiritual development stuff. So I purchased tons of books, Palo Santo sticks and crystals to decorate my apartment. When Harry saw my place, he fell in love immediately. He invited me to go to Europe together. I was having the time of my life before his daughter, Tiffany, joined the party. I was so jealous. Tiffany was young, even more beautiful than me, and smart. That girl had lived the life of my dreams effortlessly. And worst of all, she was so nice to me. Part of me wanted to destroy her. One night, I refused to come to dinner, and I just sat in the garden and cried. Harry noticed my sadness and took me for a walk around the wineries. Suddenly he stopped, knelt down, and asked me to marry him. The diamond was huge. Finally, my future was also secured. When we returned back to the US and I moved into Harry's big house, I decided to not give up my work just yet, because it gave me an excuse to spend less time with him. Sometimes Harry was too romantic and annoying. Meanwhile, a new pilot joined our crew. His name was Arthur, and oh my God, he was so perfect. During our first flight, he joked that now we were destined to be together. I had only one rule: no affairs with colleagues. I tried to avoid any flirting, but Arthur made me feel something new. I hid in the toilet, looked at myself in the mirror, and didn't recognize myself. My face was so happy. For the first time in my life, I felt confused in front of a man. After several flights, I became obsessed with Arthur. Sometimes we had to stay in one hotel between flights. One night, Arthur knocked on my door, holding trousers and a button in his hands. He entered without my permission and asked whether I could help him to sew the button back on his pants. Well, I helped him. Arthur lounged on the couch next to me and thanked me with a long, tender kiss. Since that night, Arthur and I had started our secret love affair. I've never been so happy. I told him everything about my father and my strange relationship disorder. Arthur was jealous and asked me to leave my soon-to-be husband as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the preparations for my wedding continued. One day during breakfast, Harry told me that he had reserved a honeymoon trip to France in order to explore the territory so we could purchase property in the future, to create a family villa for our future kids. I freaked out and created a huge dramatic argument. I told him that I loved another man. To hurt him even more, I added that the possibility of having children with him disgusted me. Harry looked crushed, but he acted elegantly, as usual. I saw tears in his eyes, but I wasn't sorry. Later that night at the airport, I grabbed Arthur and told him I was done with Harry. Arthur looked very satisfied and mysterious. He invited me for a serious talk in his hotel room after the flight, so I put on my best outfit and went to his room. The door was open, and I entered. The room was empty, but I heard shower sounds and noticed a female flight attendant uniform on the floor. I panicked and ran into the bathroom. In the fog, I saw the silhouettes of Arthur taking a shower with some other girl. He screamed, "Oh, baby, it's you. Can you please come back later? I'm helping Karen to wash her hair." They came out the shower. I was standing in the middle of the room and staring like a zombie. Arthur triumphed. He asked, "Why are you so sad, Penny? Come on, you didn't seriously think that we would live happily ever after, did you?" I slapped him with a wet towel and ran away from the room. First thing I did in the morning was write a letter of resignation. When I arrived home, I found my bags already packed and a letter from Harry in which he asked me to accept the French honeymoon trip as a farewell gift. So I decided to give myself a rest and went to France. One night in the hotel lobby, I witnessed a family argument and stood up for an elegant old lady, Betsy. Her husband was drunk and aggressive. He went to bed and we had a long conversation at the bar. I told her everything about my drama. It turned out that Betsy used to be an even bigger cynical gold digger than me. And now she was stuck in a marriage with an alcoholic who threatened to deprive her of her inheritance every day. Her advice was precious. Girl, if you want to be happy, you must learn to be independent. The next day, Betsy made a few calls and I was hired by another airline. So, thanks to Betsy, today I work on international flights. I decided to stay away from guys for a while. At least, nobody hurts me, and I don't hurt anybody. We'll see how it goes.